On this week's episode, we are traveling to Duro in the core worlds, where we will discuss how hyperdrive technology was reverse engineered, Cad Bane, and how the Empire lives for the drama. On with the show. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Lady Qi'ra's Galactic Adventure, where we traverse the universe in our Correlian Corvette Cruiser, the Vindicator. I am, of course, your host on this excursion, Admiral Qi'ra Vendati of the Alliance to Restore the Republic. This time, we are continuing our exploration of the interior as we travel to the planet Duro. If you have no questions, comments, or concerns, then make sure to remember to totally not pause Season 3, Episode 7 of The Mandalorian when Din Djarin is on his knees, that I'd pick Daddy-Wan Kenobi any day instead of Simpikin Skywalker, and I can see him in my mind's eye. Kenobi! This week on Lady Qi'ra's Galactic Adventure. If you have been around the metaphorical block before, you know that we first start out with the generally undescriptive planetary Disney canon and then get into the legend stuff if it's relevant from there. So let's get into this, okay? So in canon, Duro is a temperate planet located at M11 in the galactic grid along the Correlian trade spine. Shout out to our discussion of Corellia from the last episode. Believe it or not, we don't have much canon information on Duro, and we've never even been here in the visual media gallery besides us knowing some important Duros in the greater Star Wars story. We'll talk about them in a little bit. I guess before we get too much into the history, we should first go over who the Duros are, right? Well, the Duros are a sentient humanoid species native to Duro. I know. Their skin could be gray, green, turquoise, purple, brown, or blue. Blue, though, was a skin color heavily looked down upon by the natives of the planet, and was described in some of the Cad Bane episodes in the Clone Wars. The episode I'm thinking of, I think, is when Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Mace Windu are collectively interrogating him with the Force. I could be wrong. I'm unsure as to why the color blue was socially looked down upon by the Duros. There's probably some superstitious reason or religious belief or just some downright racism, but I can't find confirmation of that anywhere. So, not even in Cad Bane's descriptions, like in his early life or anything. So, back to the Duro species as a whole. Their eyes could be gold, red, or yellow. They had no noses, large eyes, and they bled green blood. Weird fun fact, when the Duros experienced high amounts of strain or stress, a kind of oil which had a highly irritating smell and a bad taste gathered in sacs along their ribs. Gross. This was an evolutionary throwback, defense mechanism basically, remaining from when the Duros were liable to be eaten by a number of entities roaming their homeworld. Fun. The Duros, as a species, were genetically linked to the Nemoidians, the two species splitting and evolving in their own right after about 15,000 BBY. We'll get into that soon. Duros fun fact. The Duros were one of the first species, along with the Corellians, to develop hyperdrive technology, also being one of the first species to travel the galaxy, right? Another Duro fun fact. The Lost King of Duro, in legends known as Vardovan IV, was most known for his singular mummified hand, which was purchased by Dryden Voss, head of Crimson Dawn, and can be seen in the background on his yacht, the First Light, in Solo, a Star Wars story. Gross. Now in that little description, besides the mummified hand of an ancient king, I did mention one Duro in particular who most Star Wars fans my age would know of. I'm talking, of course, about Cad Bane, bounty hunter extraordinaire. Look, there's a lot of information on him, so I'm going to pull out some things that I think are interesting, pretty much. Prior to the Battle of Naboo, Cad Bane was commissioned by Darth Maul himself on Nar Shaddaa, and this can be seen in the Marvel Darth Maul comics, which I have not read. Enlighten me, please. Bane, along with bounty hunters Aurra Sing, Trul Triltek, and Headilio, they'll be on the screen, helped Maul to capture Jedi Padawan Eldra Kaitis from the Skies auction. I'm not even going to try saying his name. You might be wondering why Maul would want this singular Padawan so badly that he would commission 3 bounty hunters to help him. Great question. I have no idea. Maybe he was looking for an apprentice a lot earlier than we thought he was, because that tends to be like the theme for anyone under Sidious. They have a secret apprentice. It was not so secret. It's confusing. Anyways, maybe she was a part of something bigger that I'm not aware of. I literally have no clue. Someone who has read the Marvel comics, the Maul comics, or who has them, please tell me. Another thing that I learned is that, about Cad Bane, specifically, is that Sabine Wren of the Ghost crew had drawn Cad Bane as part of her art collection on the Ghost. I don't know where he is in her art, but I've been told that he's there, so now I have to go rewatch all of Rebels to figure out where that is, and also because Ahsoka's coming out soon. To end our discussion of Cad Bane and the Duro species, I do have one thing to say. If it isn't the quacticle of the sniffling slimy. Cad Bane's iconic catchphrase, which is apparently now Boba's iconic catchphrase. On top of that, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Dudes and Dudettes. It's history time. Actually, psych. There isn't much relevant canon history on Duro, except for the fact that it was one of the first planets to sign up for the Empire. So it's actually time for everyone to put on those legends lenses under their seats, so we can learn a bit more about this place. The legends of Duro are a bit more dark than the canon stuff. Not in a, like, bloody, gory kind of way, but more in a, like, this is kind of sad way. I say that because in Legends, the planet Duro was heavily polluted and depopulated, destroyed by multiple wars. Before we get too much into the sad history of the planet Duro, let's first get into everyone's second most favorite segment. Everyone, it's system time.
It's system time.
The Duro system is a 3-planet star system orbiting around one sun, Duro. I know, how original, right? We don't know much about Duro, so we're gonna move on to the planet in the first orbital position, Lors. Not Lars, Lors. I know. Or should I say Lore? I'm in my Matt Pat phase, okay? Shut up. Lors is a steering rock with one moon / Daryl, and no, I'm not going to elaborate on why I just called that moon a Daryl. I don't even remember what episode it started in, so I guess you'll just have to go watch and or listen to them all. What a shame. What a shame. In the second orbital position, we actually have Duro, which we will cover when we've covered everything not as cool as it. So in the third and final orbital position, we have Kali. Kali? I play Genshin Impact. I'm going to say Kali. Kali is a frozen frigid rock with one moon / Daryl, and that was quite a short system time. But anyways, let's head back over to the second orbital position so we can learn a bit more about this place. And I'm not cutting, we're gonna keep going. Duro was once a terrestrial planet, but its atmosphere now is toxic. And I don't mean like Twitter toxic, I mean as in like toxic gas, toxic fumes, like type 4 atmosphere, okay? There are a few species that are or were once native to this planet, so let's get into those first. Starting off strong with the cannibal arachnid, a massive arachnid that was driven to extinction due to atmospheric changes. Next we have the Chidi, I don't know how to pronounce it. I have no description of them except that they were a predator, and that Chidi, or Chide, however you pronounce it, was a common man's name on Duro, probably equating to some toxic masculinity bullshit. Probably. I don't like to assume, you know? Similarly, we next have the Urvix, a predator from Duro with no physical description that went extinct, probably to the already mentioned changes, and was a common surname on Duro. Not a first name. This next one is gonna be a doozy, because I don't like bugs. This is the Febs beetle. Okay, they were a group of Febs beetles that were contracted to work on Duro. What exactly would Febs beetles be working on Duro? I have no idea. Shipbuilding? Bugs don't have opposable thumbs, but I suppose this is Star Wars. There's probably a better reason for this. They were large, beetle-like insects that functioned under a hive mind, which is always a good start to a Star Wars sentence, right? We all remember Geonosias, right? Remember that episode of Rebels? That scared the freaking hell out of me. Have hive mind and bugs in the same sentence. It never really works well for anyone in Star Wars, does it? No. Due to the immense pollution on Duro, the hive mind became corrupted and began to mutate. The creatures losing their sentience and becoming overly aggressive, even spitting out acid at predators. Since no other creatures could really survive the ecological conditions, the Febs beetles became the only remaining fauna on the planet. Yucky! Let's change the subject. Next we have yet another fairly unknown and extinct species, the Krallit, which is yet another popular name for Duros men. For what reason, I still have no idea. Lastly, we have the Raraza, yet another extinct species, this time an avian, which is also a popular name for Duros men. And with that out of the way, let's quickly talk about population stats before we get into the history of the planet. The species native to this planet, the Duro, of course, But humans and Rhodians also have immigrated here in the past, before the incident. We'll get into it. I did write that in the script, I'm sorry. Before the incident, though, Duro had a total population of 18.5 billion people, with Duro themselves occupying 53% of that population, humans 36%, and the remaining 11% going to other. Love that. Now, without further ado, it is time for everyone's... favorite segment, Dudes and Dudettes. It's history time. Duro was first noticed by outside civilizations in about 100,000 BBY, specifically by the Colomai people who we covered a few episodes back. The Colomai said that the Duro were too primitive and yeeted themselves right out of there, right? Joke's on them, though, because the Duro would become one of the most notable and successful spacefaring peoples in the galaxy, right? And we've covered some pretty major hitters for that. We've covered the Coruscanti, we covered the Kuwati, we covered the Corellians. The works. If anyone has been listening since the Tithon episode 2 of this show, I know, long time ago, or if you've listened to it at any point in time, you would remember that this civilization that wreaked havoc on the Jedi Order and caused the formation of the Jedi Order, right? The Rakuten Infinite Empire. The Infinite Empire was ruthless, and Duro was one of its enslaved planets. The reason the Infinite Empire fell is because a plague began to spread across its territories, and Duro, seeing this as an opportunity, right, rebelled openly against their enslavers in 25,200 BBY and established a hereditary monarchy. But that wouldn't last very long. I'm really unsure as to when the monarchy fell. Some people say it was before the creation of the Republic, some people say it was after, so we're just going to assume it's already out of the picture as soon as it began. Okay? Cool. At some point, before the creation of the Republic, Duro would end up joining the Herglic Trade Empire, which in the times before the Republic was the strongest government in the core worlds. As I mentioned before, the Duro, once linked to the outside world, were quick to explore the galaxy, earning an adventurous name for themselves. Interestingly, I also mentioned a few episodes back that hyperdrive technology as we know it was reverse engineered, and the ships that were used in that process were ships previously belonging to the Rakuten Trade Empire, which means that I need to delve deeper into them if I really want to do a history of hyperdrive technology episode at some point in time. Their discoveries ushered in a Duro golden age, right? Which is... what discoveries? You might be wondering. Well, we learned last episode that the Corellians had managed to reverse engineer this technology, but at the same time the Duro were doing the same thing. I'm so sorry. The Duro were doing the same thing, right? They were reverse engineering the technology too. And in that discovery and the ability to mass produce it ushered in a Duro golden age, which is also why Duro is a founding member of the Galactic Republic in 25,053 BBY, alongside planets like Coruscant, obviously, Alderaan, Gendrilla, Kamas, and more. Again, I really need to update my spreadsheets. I think that the monarchy was disbanded sometime after joining the Republic. Just, it kind of makes more sense that way. I know you must be wondering, what would fill the power vacuum left by this monarchy, right? Well, corporations did, my friends. Do you hear that? Oh my god, capitalism has arrived at the party. But corporations weren't the only bodies in power, of course. You need a legislative body to bribe, so of course they had to make one too, and that is exactly why the Duros High House was formed, and the head of state termed the Chief Representative Officer. You might also be wondering, didn't Duro join that other government before they joined the Republic, the Herglic Trade Empire? What happened to that? One, you have a great memory. Even I couldn't remember that, which is a total lie because I'm reading it off a screen right now. But two, I answer your question with a question of my own. What are all great empires destined to do? Fall. Empires rise and fall, and the time of the Herglic Empire was gone, and the time of the Republic was now. And I don't mean now, like then, now. The Republic's finna dead. Anyways, in Duro's first wave of exploration, they had colonized Nemoidia, coming soon. But by 15,000 BBY, as we mentioned before, Nemoidia was free of their reign and considered an independent nation. planet thin. Second breakfast, anyone? Do you get the reference? Oh my god, it's in the Fellowship of the Ring after the Council of Elrond, when Merry and Pippin and Sam, hijack the party, and they're like, and then Pippin's like, you need people of intelligence on this sort of mission quest, then. And then Merry goes, well, that rules you out, Pip. Sorry. I'm actually not sorry. I will take any excuse to talk about Billy Boyd. Some other planets colonized by Duro are Sneeve, Adner, and Koboth, which are going to be up on the screen. 3 planets I have never heard of before in my life. Maybe we'll come across them someday on our journeys. Interestingly, as the Empire grew, back on Duro, the people began abandoning the surface of the planet for space cities and space stations, leaving the farming, mining, and other such tasks on the planet to droids and other such automated machines. And I don't mean the Empire, I mean like the Duro Empire, not like the Galactic Empire. We're not there yet. We will be there soon, in like a page and a half, maybe. Sorry. But yeah, droids and automated machines are running the planet itself, right? And this caused immense overdevelopment of the surface of the planet, resulting in much of the heavy pollution that we see on Duro today. Not to mention mass extinction events that plagued the natural ecosystem of the planet, which is why so many of the creatures we discussed today are extinct now. There was one more incident, or set of incidents, that furthered the destruction of the planet forever. The Mandalorian Wars. In 3962 BBY, the Mandalorians, moving in towards the core world, laid Duro to ruin. They destroyed the surface of the planet that's already scarred, right, in a way that almost foreshadows the fate of their own planet 4,000 years in the future. They did so using basilisk war droids. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen, because those things, they look like metal polar bears. It's disturbing. These were semi-sentient machines that were designed by the basilisks on Basilisk, and were outfitted with the following: laser and pulse wave cannons, shockwave generator rods, shatter missile launchers, space mines, high boost engines, and supremely heavy armor. Let's just say, the Mandalorians rode these things like Boba Fett rode the Mythosaur in the Star Wars Holiday Special. Like a panther. Look, you knew it was coming, okay? Don't blame me. Love made me crazy. If it doesn't, you ain't doing it right. I'm just chock full of references today. I'm supreme. If you think that the Mandalorian Wars were bad, you can't even imagine what both the old and new Sith Wars would have done to this place. Let's just say the Mandalorians and the Sith have one thing in common. They are relentless. You know who else is relentless? The Galactic Empire. Isn't that a sick transition? Right? Well, before the Empire officially rose to power, this thing called the Clone Wars happened. And during that war, the Separatists were able to conquer Duro, and Grievous, in General Grievous fashion, ordered a planetary bombardment of the surface. A planet already racked with negligence of its ecosystems, the Mandalorian Wars, the Sith Wars, both of them. Heck, and we've studied a planet in the past that Grievous ordered a similar treatment to, and do you know what happened to it? I don't remember the name, don't ask me. Well, let's just say that after an hour-long bombardment, the core of the planet was superheated and began to break apart. The core of a planet was overheated by a dreadnought, by a separatist dreadnought, shooting lasers at it for an hour. Also, don't forget that all of Duro's factories and industries were still on the surface of the planet, even though the people were not. So the lasers from the dreadnoughts, when they hit those factories, released radioactive liquids and gases that made the atmosphere toxic and made the entire planet a wasteland. And let's just say a major economic superpower planet like Duro being attacked in such a manner made even Corellia tighten its defenses. And Corellia was far gone at this point. It was a shock to the system of the Republic that a planet so close to its creation would be destroyed in such a manner, right? Like, they should have known at that point in time that the war would not end well for anyone. Back to the Empire, though. When the Empire came to fruition, they wanted to stir the pot, as they tend to do. So after taking what resources were left on Duro and forcing the rest of the inhabitants off the surface of the planet, they declared that Duro was not part of the Duro sector of the galaxy, but the Corellia sector of the galaxy. And that is a slap to the ego if I have ever seen one, okay? They basically said, you're irrelevant, bye-bye, and left. For more drama, you remember Nemoidia previously being a colony of Duro all those years ago, right? If there's one thing that Nemoidians are known for, it's the Trade Federation. We all know this. We've all seen episode 1, The Phantom Menace, right? You know what? It no longer exists by the time of the Empire because its leaders are dead and it's now been made a subsidy. The Trade Federation, correct. With nowhere to go and no political power to put their faith in, Neimoidia had to integrate itself back into Duro culture. Look, I just gotta say, the Empire loves drama. I mean, it's run by Move Bitch, I'm Gay Palpatine. So let's just say a straight man would not be named Sheev. Okay. Otherwise, rebels had actually tried to free Duros multiple times, but were completely unsuccessful. And it's time to say bye-bye to the Empire and hello to the New Republic, although we won't be staying here long. The New Republic, at what time I'm unsure of, would manage to liberate Duro and have them join the Republic and place them back in their respective sector. You know, one major thing that the New Republic did was send ecosystem purification teams to start cleansing the atmosphere of the planet. Duro was also, for a time, recaptured by the Empire via Operation Shadowhand, but was freed eventually. I don't know what year or how long they were under their control. I said we weren't staying here for long, but because this is Legends, and you know what exists in Legends? The Yuuzhan VOng War. And of course, you know who comes a-knocking on Duros' metaphorical door? Knock knock, it's the Yuuzhan VOng. Open up, it's the Yuuzhan VOng. And by 26 ABY, when the New Republic was all in on purifying Duro, the big baddies came to town. We actually covered the Yuuzhan VOng in a previous episode entitled, quote, The Yuuzhan Gong, which is available everywhere you can listen and or watch this show. It's one of I'm very proud of that episode, I can say. I'm very proud of it. And I reference it a lot. The Yuuzhan VOng was able to capture Duro and destroyed 19 out of its 20 floating cities. Interestingly, though, during the Yuuzhan occupation, they were able to reverse centuries of pollution with their biotechnology that would have taken the Republic decades. Duro was retaken by the Republic and later the Galactic Alliance during the Second Galactic Civil War. Let's not talk about that one though. It is so strange for me to say that the Yuuzhan VOng, the group with the biggest body count in the entire history of Star Wars, had a positive impact on a planet, because despite the billions of people that they murdered in spite of the Jedi existing, they were able to return Duro to a lush jungle planet capable of life once again. And here's and we're done with them, but here's a quick recap of everything that happens afterwards. War-wise, right? During the Second Galactic Civil War, the planet was conquered by a Solo, nonetheless, for access to its resources. By the end of the Sith Imperial Wars, there was a big showdown between the Galactic Alliance's core fleet and the new Empire, and Duro was once again captured by the latter. The Empire liked it here so much that they established an Imperial Academy there, which only happens on planets incredibly loyal to the state, or ones they want to keep an eye on, like Mandalore, because they were brainwashed. And other places, which I can't remember. And on that note, I'm done. And that is everything I have for you on Duro and Canon and Legends. I hope you enjoyed your journey this week and your stay so far aboard the Vindicator. If you have any questions or concerns about your stay, feel free to bring it up with one of our personnel on board via a private message or a DM. Perhaps on our TikTok accounts at Shadow Collective Rules or at Unidentified Robot, or maybe our new Twitter, however long that's gonna last, at twitter.com/lady__Qi'ra. Excuse me. Or perhaps with a review of our show on Apple Podcasts, or if you don't listen on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review anywhere and send me your review anywhere on any of the social media sites listed already. Or perhaps, if you want more of me, I don't know why you would, but you can head on over to patreon.com/LadyKira Productions, and for only $5 a month, you can have access to tons of additional content in our exclusive Discord community. All of these usernames and their respective platforms will be listed in the show notes. Next time, we will be journeying to, what was it? Teleran, I think? I didn't write it in my script. It starts with a T. No one actually listens to this anyways. And whatever core worlds I can cover in 30 minutes or less. Until next time, my friends, companions, and droids, may the Force be with you all.